Hello, my name is Irini Picolou and I am a PhD candidate in Hispanic Studies and Art History at Durham University. And today I will be talking about sexuality, pain and desire in the Flagellation of Saint Engracia by Bartolomé Bermejo. Bartolomé Bermejo was a 15th century artist who worked in the crown of Aragon and is most famously known for his emulation of the Netherlandish oil technique and sculptural style. His documented activity spans from 1468 to 1498, a period when Spain was progressing towards the finalization of the Reconquest. Hostilities towards Muslims and Jews in Spain intensified as a result of the Catholic dominion that Ferdinand and Isabella aimed to establish across the country, eventually leading to the expulsion of non-Christian communities in 1492. The flagellation of Saint Engracia by Bermejo is widely known for its poignant embodiment of feminine pain in the private, humiliating space of the other. In the hostile environment of 15th century Spain, Saint Engracia, a 4th century martyr, became an important spiritual figure for the Kingdom of Aragon. Her significance as a saint was revived in 1392 following the discovery of her relics in Zaragoza. She is known for protesting the persecution of Christians in Zaragoza. Her flagellation and subsequent death ordered by the Roman proconsul, Datian. Following the event that revitalized her importance, Bermejo received a commission for the altarpiece of Saint Engracia to be displayed in the church of San Pedro in Daroca. The flagellation of Saint Engracia constituted part of the altarpiece, and it signals the moment when Saint Engracia is condemned to torture. With the flagellation, Bermejo presents 15th century devout churchgoers with a half-naked female virgin martyr in a male-populated space, subject to the torturous and lustful tendencies of Islamic subjects. The painting encompasses, in many ways, phallic overtones of power and functions as a visual manifestation of scopophilic tendencies. In my analysis of scopophilic tendencies, I refer specifically to the employment of medieval cultural codes to eroticize Engracia's body and the voyeuristic pleasure shown by Datian and the flagellator. In this presentation, I will discuss how Engracia becomes a site of sexual desire for outward 15th century spectators, and a passive object of the male gaze in the flagellation itself. While underpinning my analysis with understandings of medieval visual codes eroticizing the female body, I will use Laura Mulvey's theory of the male gaze to demonstrate how Bermejo represents the other in a lustful and sinful light. This application will demonstrate how the gaze functions as a reciprocal act in martyrdom narratives, requiring the passivity of the female virgin martyr and the masculinized power exercised by male executioners. This analysis will shed light on the extended meanings of martyrdom in a medieval and gendered context, offering insight into the sexualized nature regarding the female virgin martyr's experiences of suffering. The position of the martyr as the object of desire for male torturers in medieval paintings remains a controversial topic among medievalists. Robert Mills offers a critical approach to this view of the martyr's body from the perspective of the medieval viewer. Mills explains that while viewers are invited to empathize with the suffering body, it is also possible for them to focus on the torturers and their reactions to the exposed female body. While viewers may have been conditioned in some respects to resist this way of looking at the suffering saint, this reinforcement would not have entirely obscured viewers' curiosity with the female martyr's role as an object of male desire. For Mills, it is precisely the combination of the visual codes sexualizing the martyr's body and the male gaze exhibited by executioners more likely stimulating the spectator's curiosity with the eroticization of the female body. Mill's understanding of a spectator's reaction places into question the role of torturers in martyrdom narratives, furthering insights regarding the effects of representing them as sinful and lustful individuals. And now let's move on to an analysis of the painting. Bermejo employs medieval visual codes which eroticize Engracia's body to demonstrate how she is humiliated by the perceivably sadistic flagellator. In this panel, Engracia's side breast becomes the prime object of voyeuristic interest. Marilyn Yalom articulates that when breasts were shown in martyrdom narratives, they often epitomize the saint's significance in hagiography. For example, Saint Agatha became the patron saint of breasts. However, Yalom explains that such depictions of suffering presented artists with the opportunity to portray breasts as explicitly as possible. Engracia's breasts do not serve a purpose beyond show in this panel, so why Bermejo depicted them is curious, raising questions regarding their erotic presence. It is also worth noting that the flagellator makes tactile contact with Engracia's body, the placement of his hand ambiguous to viewers. Since his arm is placed nearer to the upper part of her torso, it is suggested that he may be touching her breast. Whether or not the flagellator is touching her breast, the placement of his hand on her naked body indicates that it is not enough for the flagellator to simply look at her body. There is also a need for touch to maximize his sadistic pleasure. This representation of tactile contact demonstrates how the flagellator acts upon his own scopophilic desire felt towards Engracia's body, inviting the curiosity of the male heterosexual viewer. In secular contexts, this position of the flagellator's hand may stimulate heterosexual and homosexual desires for men and women alike to touch Engracia's breast. This tactility also emphasizes the whiteness of Engracia's skin, which contrasts sharply with the flagellator's darker complexion. In medieval Spain, white skin functioned as a particularly desirable trait, since it signified nobility and, in some contexts, sexual purity. In his analysis of stigmatized and non-stigmatized identities, Homi K. Barber argues that the segregated other fantasizes over the clean white body, distracting the individual from his or her own rejected identity. Andrew M. Beresford extends this analysis to a medieval context, articulating that whiteness symbolizes both beauty and an exercise of virtue, while darker skin connotes lustful deviancy. As a virgin martyr, Engracia's position as a sponsor Christi, meaning bride of Christ, is visually emphasized by the luminosity of her white skin in this panel. The flagellator's tactile contact demonstrates how the stigmatized other fantasizes over the sexually unavailable virgin martyr. In many ways, this iconic touch becomes central to the curiosity of viewers, Engracia's preservation of purity transformed into a desirable trait for the indecorously portrayed other. The flagellator's sunburnt skin is a marker of his status as an outsider, indicating his social and moral inferiority. This signifier of an outsider status not only accentuates Engracia's own relative moral and spiritual purity, but it emboldens connotations of lustful deviancy, demonstrating that the flagellator is not a respectable man of the court. Moreover, Engracia's golden crown and heavy chain accentuate her presence as a desirable figure. The abundance of gold and the complex structure of her crown not only articulate her noble beauty, but they also signal her social worth. In this sense, these material embellishments endow her with Mulvey's to-be-looked-atness quality. Engracia is almost made to perform the role of the objectified woman, the golden excess bringing her status as a desirable figure into existence. Legend has it that Engracia was condemned to torture when passing through Zaragoza as a young maiden preparing to meet her fiancé in Rue Sion. The golden crown and chain originally formed part of the attire fashioned to attract her suitor, transforming her role into the object of heteronormative desire for the flagellator. Despite Engracia's desirable attributes, it is important to question the extent to which the crimson whiplashes inscribed upon her back distract spectators from her position as an object of beauty, constituting a sight of disgust for devout 15th century churchgoers. The disturbance felt by viewers is evidenced by the scratching out of the flagellator's face, demonstrating heinous attitudes towards the flagellator, which are evoked by Bermejo's hyperrealistic markers of pain. Such representations of pain were purposed to transmit the everyday medieval horror of violence to viewers. In religious contexts, this strategy was employed to reinforce emotive responses towards martyrs' experiences of suffering. In late 15th century Spain, this realism was adopted to intensify anxieties towards Muslims and Jews, portraying them as sadistic infidels to the Christian religion. Madeleine Cavines raises the argument that fragmenting and relicizing the body of the virgin martyr can transform the view of her body as an erotic object. Cavines does not address, however, at which point markers of pain de-eroticize portrayals of whole feminine bodies. In this depiction of Engracia, the portrayal of the crimson whiplashes certainly constitutes a sight of disgust, which compels 15th century viewers to contemplate their own disarray, warned of the sadistic tendencies believed to be exhibited by Muslim and Jewish subjects. The horror of the whiplashes is thus distracting for viewers, since such paintings, often framed in a contemporary Islamic space, functioned as propagandistic metaphors propelling Christians to advocate the expulsion of non-Christian societies from Spain. I must also note that curatorial practices undertaken on the panel eliminated depictions of blood oozing from Engracia's wounds, which would have given the original composition a more dramatic appearance. Without visual access to this detail, it is difficult to assess the extent to which this depiction of pain would have blocked the spectator's gaze, or even detracted attention from the visual codes portraying Engracia as an object of desire for the flagellator and possibly also Dacian. However, Juan Molina Figueras takes the view that the sumptuousness of the clothing and architectural structures in the flagellation override the violence of the scene, suggesting a downplayed portrayal of martyrial drama. It will be necessary to explore the illustration of violence in the flagellation to demonstrate how the male gaze and the phallic movement direct the spectator's recognition of Engracia's body as a site of scopophilic desire. The flagellator and Dacian become agents of the male gaze, establishing the masculinized power manifested in the flagellation. The flagellator's eyes swerve towards Engracia, biting his lip in concentration as he waves his whip in her direction. Dacian also gazes intently at Engracia, his eyes fixed upon her back, and possibly also her breast. Engracia's head is turned away, her calm but sullen look heightening the discomfort of the spectacle. Mulvey explains that in heteronormative displays of visual pleasure, the man becomes the active agent of looking and the woman is the passive object of the gaze. The intense look of Dacian's gaze and the flagellator's bitten lip are suggestive of the pleasure that they take in looking at Engracia, rendering her into the object of male scopophilic tendencies. It is also worth noting that the flagellator's gesticulating movement accentuates the scopophilic dynamic to the panel. The erectile position of his arm upon swerving his whip symbolizes phallic power. More importantly, this position demonstrates the subsequent action that the flagellator takes upon gazing at Engracia, using his sadistic role to take pleasure in looking at and harming her. Although the purpose of martyrdom paintings in 15th century Aragon would have been to promote the spiritual purification of the soul by positioning the martyr as an agent of exemplary devotion, the visual codes eroticizing the body of the female virgin martyr in moments of torture became embedded into the language of sadism. In other words, the sadoerotic nature of such spectacles, in the case of Aragon, epitomized the sinful nature of non-Christian societies, accentuating the didactic purposes of martyrdom paintings. This research places into question, however, the extent to which the pained body could be viewed as erotic by spectators, or at which point a fetishizing curiosity with the female body is repulsed by abject imagery. Thank you, Memsa, and thank you for your attention.